Just as well I have to go to work, or I might be on a rant right now about neglected children, about children that are not even in homes with any blood relative, let alone in any safe, nurturing place, how they deserve. What the fuck is going on? This is just child after child after child. Right now we've got Cash Gernon. He's a twin. His twin Carter is left behind, and I've got a lot to say about this case. So it happened in Dallas. It's just unfolding now, and it's going to be more and more sick and dire the more we learn, I am sure, because I think this is pretty twisted. You've got dropkick father Trevor, who has left these 4-year-old twins with a woman called Monica Sherrod, who appears to be a drug user, allegedly. I don't know, but looking at her, you can certainly make a few assumptions. And Monica is the mother of 4 teenaged children. So here these 4-year-old twins are dropped off into a home with a woman unrelated to them, just some girlfriend, ex-girlfriend of the father, and her teenage children. And this is, as we know, extra dangerous for children. An 18-year-old called Cameron Morey, 3 other children, 16, 15 and 14. Only one of them is a girl, so 3 teenage boys, a teenaged girl, the mother, all living in a hovel of a home in squalor, not a very safe environment. And what has happened? Well, the mother, Melinda Seagrass, I'm not sure what steps she was taking to find the children. No doubt she's been looking for her children for months. I don't know what law agencies she's been involved with. Fuck knows why this loser Monica Sherrod has just happily kept these children in her home, living in a converted garage. This is their bedroom, a converted garage. Looks pretty dank. And why she wouldn't get in contact with authorities saying, hey, the father has taken off. I have these children. They have a mother who must be looking for them. I mean, whether she thought this was some sort of custody thing, whether she thought the mother was never allowed custody or was never in the picture, why she would just hold on to these innocent 4-year-old boys who are nothing to do with her, I have no fucking idea. Did she not think they might have a mother or a grandparent or an auntie or an uncle or older brothers and sisters or something looking for them who could care for them? Why does she have to have them in her squalid, putrid, unsafe home? The door where this person called Darian Brown has allegedly broken into the home looks like it's already been broken down several times. And what happened was little Cash Gernon was taken by someone who looks like Darian Brown from this converted garage. Apparently he's come and walked all the way through the home, chosen a little boy, looks like to me, looks sexually motivated to me, but he's stood over the crib. For some reason, there is a baby monitor in this room. There are funny lights flashing around. I don't know if it's the reflection of the baby monitor behind the curtain. Something crazy going on behind the curtain with light and movement behind one of the windows to the room. But anywho, he sort of stands in this room for quite a few minutes, and then at 4:58 he takes little Cash from his bed. Little Cash is then found at 6:45 in the Dallas neighborhood, a few blocks away from this home, and he has been brutally murdered. He's been stabbed several times. There's lots of blood. At 7:30, Darian Brown is seen again in the room. Looks like he's checking the twin to see, did he take the right twin, or was he thinking about taking this other boy? I don't know. he disappears. At 10 o'clock, finally, this dropkick woman, Monica, this deadbeat loser, this weirdo who has held on to these children who are nothing to do with her, yet she calls them her babies. She started a GoFundMe, this wench. 10 o'clock, she finally rises, probably usually. Maybe she's woken up by the more outgoing Cash, the more outgoing of the twins. And then by 11, she calls 911. Okay, 11 o'clock. So, the questions are, why did Darian Brown go to this home? Well, we find out that he knows the family. He's been to this home, and there's allegations that he's having an affair with Monica. Now, Monica's 18-year-old son, Cameron Morey, gave a doorstop interview, didn't he? For some reason, he talks like the Cash Me Outside girl. I remember her. She was all right, actually. She's someone that was on Dr. Phil. Do you remember her? She spoke ghetto, little white girl speaking some sort of ghetto slang. I don't know. This is how Cameron talks for some unknown reason, talking about the little boy, what a great little kid he was, how he cared for him. Same as the mother figure, Monica, giving her interview where she really looks like she's on drugs. Who knows, though? She could be stunned. People act very differently to what you might expect when they're in huge shock. And certainly she would be in shock, but I'm sure she should be worried about what's going to happen to her. Why the fuck isn't she in prison for abduction, for kidnap of these little boys, holding them illegally? She should be in prison. So, both Monica and Cameron have given these interviews. I'm sure there'll be lots of people gleaning information from those interviews. There's gossip about, the family had several dogs. You couldn't possibly get into that yard either unless they knew you or were part of the family. People are saying that it's actually Cameron in the room, wearing a mask to cover this ridiculous bum fluff that he's wearing on his chin. Who knows? But I think you can see the glint of glasses Darian Brown is wearing. So Darian Brown has been arrested. He's apparently someone with a reputation for causing problems in his own neighbourhood. I think the neighbours seemed quite scared of this Darian Brown. He's a bit of a terror. Apologies. He goes to Cameron's school. I mean, what the actual fuck? Why can two little boys just be living with random strangers? What essentially is random strangers? Why would they be safe in this environment? Don't you find this absolutely bizarre? What did this woman, Monica, think she was going to do when it came time for these children to be of school age? I mean, was she holding on to these children indefinitely? Was it because she still loves Trevor and she hoped to get him back? I mean, Trevor's AWOL. Monica, she'll paint a little story about, she'd always get up, she'd get up at about 7 usually, and they do their ABCs and colours. All these 4-year-olds knew nothing before they came to Monica the Great, Mother Monica, okay? But they loved learning their colours. Cash was very outgoing. He had a favourite book, a favourite toy. She adored him. I mean, how can she possibly be enjoying looking after these twins, these unrelated twins, when she's got these teenagers with her, 4 teenagers. I mean, that would be very stressful, parenting 4 teenagers as a single parent, wouldn't you think? It just seems to make zero sense at all as to why. What was she afraid of, getting this dropkick Trevor in trouble? Trevor and her both have some sort of criminal record, from what I understand. Was she afraid of getting him into trouble? I just don't understand her thought process of, okay, this is perfectly normal. Oh, look at me. She's showing this squalid converted garage. Look what I did for them, made them their own room. I mean, this sleeping in this tiny crib. In all the months she's had them, she hasn't ensured that they have a proper bed. There's little kids probably fending for themselves for the most part. While God knows who comes and goes through this home because of, the teenage children, this 18-year-old son. I mean, these children, neglected, dumped children, are very vulnerable. They are obviously children that would be exposed and vulnerable to abuse. Who knows? Why are there cameras in their room? Is it trafficking? Are they being abused? Are they being sold? What the hell has been going on? How does Monica make money to live in this home and raise these 4 teenage children? What is going on in this household? I'm furious about, isn't it sickening? What is going on? Parents, what are you doing? Leaving your kids anywhere with anybody. They're so vulnerable. It just allows anything to happen. You need to be answerable. There's no excuses. There is no excuses. Oh, you had a bad childhood, did you? Yeah? Got a drug addiction, have you? Got legal problems. Really? Yeah? You've got to come up with better solutions to your problems rather than just turning your backs on your own children, Yeah, the video that's been released, it's baby monitor video. It's very bizarre. So Darian, who looks like Darian, whomever it is, looks like Darian, they enter the room, they creep in and they just stand looking around the room, maybe listening. They look at the window where this light is behind the curtain, and they look toward the baby monitor as well. You wonder has he been asked to do this, or has he just, been fascinated with these children and he's come in when he's been high as a kite to abuse these children? He stands over the crib and slowly, very slowly, he raises a blanket and he's looking. He's quite trying to, it's like, is he trying to discern which twin? Or is one asleep? Because we'd just seen one twin walk in. Now it's motion detected, this camera, so this might not have happened in close sequence time-wise, but we see one twin come into the room, get back into bed. The other twin is in there already asleep, which is Cash. So Carter's come back into the room, and once Cash is taken, he's just lifted up and carried out by Darian. It is utterly terrifying. It's a horror scene. You can see Carter sort of rouse, but he hasn't raised any alarm or anything. Who knows? Is he used to people coming into the room? Or did he think it was Cameron, for example, because superficially these kids look similar. Cameron's got very curly sort of fro hair. Darian Brown was wearing his hair in sort of these, he's got a tight curl pattern to his hair. But, they're both sort of lanky teenage boys. Cameron's kind of got a very distinguished or distinguishable, sorry, can't think at the moment, nose. I think we'd see that in the profile, and we don't. People are saying their clothing looks similar, Cameron and person Darian. So all sorts of conspiracy theories are flying around as to who really took the boy in some people's minds. Was it done for the money, for this GoFundMe that this See You Next Tuesday Monica's set up? I mean, I have no respect for her. People will say, oh, she's been put in a tough position. She didn't know what to do. She thought she was carrying these kids. What a lovely woman, they might say. She was caring for these people. I mean, this is what she wants us to believe. But what the actual fact? These aren't puppies. They're not kittens. Okay? And even then, you should be trying to find the true guardian. I won't say owner. Because we don't own animals and we don't own children. We are their guardians. We are supposed to be their guardians. This is a desperate, disgusting world, isn't it? What other animals treat their young like this to such an extent? I mean, how weak and useless are we? How degraded are we? How regressed are we? I guess if people are going to believe in God, they have to believe in the devil. And if you believe that, God works in mysterious ways, well, you're going to believe that the devil is working here on earth through human beings as well, wouldn't you? And is this the devil of drug abuse? Is this the devil of just generational, systemic neglect and just illness? Dis-ease? What is this? Who are the people bringing up these people who then do these things in life, keep other people's children and can't even keep them safe, or grow up to be an 18-year-old or so who steals someone's child out of a bed, and then they are found slashed to death, stabbed to death in a street, discarded. This is a high school person. Darian and Cameron go to the same high school. They're not even out of high school, but they're 18, adults. Teachers these days are, let's not digress, they're probably terrified because, I know someone who had to give up his career because he was chased by a 15-year-old boy, a man-sized 15-year-old boy who was in the state of just fury. The teacher was chased with a knife, could barely get over a fence to escape. Who should be working in those conditions, And what creates this? What is creating this? And this is epidemic. This is the epidemic. It's a pandemic. It's a pandemic of pain. It's a pandemic of deep illness and wrongness where human beings, we're better than this. What is it? Are we going to blame the corona on everything? Are we going to blame everything on financial pressures, on what? Why is society breaking down like this? I mean, there's so much pressure on these individual units. We're not a village, we're not a series of villages any longer. There is none of this backup. People weren't expected to be the sole, care person 24/7. People had different roles, and children often were together in gaggles, but they're in the village and they're cared for and they're safe, and everybody's looking out for everyone. And now we've got all these individuals under stress with so much responsibility. Okay, it's not an excuse, but people are cracking. People are cracking. I mean, we're just insane. We're just a race of insane people. To be human is sort of to be insane anyway, because to be able to ponder as much as we can, to have so much awareness, you can't possibly be sort of sane all the time, I don't think, because there's a lot to cope with, and a lot of mechanisms that you develop, to cope with being human and being so super conscious. But it's like we're slipping back into something, and so weak. So yeah, I'm not really saying what I want to say or saying it the way that I want to. I just wanted to come here and talk about this. This is just, it's got to stop. And what do we do? There's all these conspiracies about, people don't want us having children, and creating these sterile women, and men that want to be women and not men, or what is happening. I mean, I certainly think we are splitting somehow. I think there's some subhumanity developing, but also maybe some, what sort of race do you want to create out of hominids? Is this it? These demonic zombies, these baby stealers, these baby traffickers, these useless, lying, hopeless people, full of excuses for why they can't care for a child. Full of excuses about the way they bring up their children, about why, children are put in harm's way. Do you really think Monica Sherrod is waking up at the crack of dawn and raising these 4-year-olds with any real care? Sure, maybe she was, kind to them sometimes. Do you think she could handle 2 4-year-olds when she's got a home full of teenagers making demands? Maybe they were living quite independently. Who knows? Maybe she left a lot of their care, the care of the twins, up to these teenagers. She thought, well, screw it, if they're here, they're watching them. Why is she only getting up at 10 o'clock? Who sleeps to 10 o'clock in a household like that? When you're the mother figure as well, especially, why? Why was she in bed till 10? She knows she's got 4-year-old twins in the home, and she's taken them on as her responsibility. They are her ex-boyfriend, or God knows what we think the relationship is there. They're his children. Just come back to that. I mean, I can't get over the fact that she just held on to them as if it was a bicycle she found on the street. abandoned and kept, or as if they are kittens she found under her hedge. These are children with family who must be looking for them. From all gossip, Melinda and Trevor both have issues. So the biological mother and father. Trevor, even with all his history with the law and with drug use, he had custody apparently. So has this swayed, what Monica has thought about the mum? I don't know. You'd notify authorities. You would notify authorities, wouldn't you? Any sane person or any person that had a skerrick of decency, normalcy in the way they view the world. I mean, what sort of world view does Monica Sherrod have? And why? Why does this worldview exist? I've got to go to work. So I'll leave it there. I haven't really said much. Because I'm processing, and it's very hard to process, isn't it? This is just coming on the backs of missing and murdered and abused children, and what's a theme here, is the instability in these children's lives with who is giving them care, where they live. Their short histories have nothing but turbulence, have nothing but a series of shocks. How are these children coping with this? What must Cash and Carter have been thinking about their situation? Truly, this is horrifying. Do we want to live in this world? Is this the type of world we want? Who created this? Who asked for it? Do we create it by accepting it? So that it can continue to happen and get more ingrained and more part of culture, human culture. Is this where we want human culture to go? It's not the world I want to live in. I know it's not the norm everywhere or for every family, obviously, but isn't it seeming more and more common that there is this type of culture, this type of childhood full of a lack of safety, full of a lack of security, full of a lack of, steadiness, reliability. What sort of adults, they manage to make it into adulthood. What sort of adults are they going to be? What's their worldview going to be? And what will they then grow up to perpetrate? What sort of connection will they feel to human beings in their lives, in their adult lives? Because we know abused people grow up to abuse. We know neglected people might grow up to neglect. Sure, some of them can grow up to really nurture, to really value and want to give what they didn't have. That's a fact. But, hurt people. And you can't tell me that someone like little Carter isn't going to grow up now feeling like, why? Number one, how was he not chosen by this guy? What sort of survivor guilt is this twin going to have? He's a twin. This bond is so strong, and this is immense suffering this kid's going to have just because of that, But how is he going to grow up without so much damage, knowing, well, his brother was taken from a home that he should never have been in the first place? Is he going to grow up feeling like, why was I wanted by dad or mum? Why weren't they there to protect me? what sort of value in himself is he going to have? Is he always going to feel unloved, unlovable, abandonable? It's heartbreaking. I'll see you later.